Alright, welcome back to Pulp Diction. I'm your host, Dylan Gibson, and today I was supposed to be doing this with my very good friend Declan Hutter, joined previously on the Pulp Fiction episode, One Battle After Another, and at least one more, Eyes Without a Face. But he couldn't make it, unfortunately. Well, Mulholland Drive too. Anyway, he couldn't make it. His flight got delayed from college, and the Oscars are tomorrow, and I really want to get this episode out before then. In any case, we're talking about the Oscars. I'm talking about the Oscars. They're almost upon us. Award seasons, 2026's award season is almost at an end, capping off a crazy good year for movies. 2025 was spectacular. We had great blockbusters, we had great artsy stuff, absolute cinema, and a whole lot of overlap between the two. I'm really happy about how it went. I'm so happy about the movies that came out in 2025. I've talked about it a good bit in the previous episodes, but it's true. We were getting so much good stuff. We were reading so well. A decent amount of original concepts, a decent amount of decent stuff done with pre-existing IP. You know how I feel about Superman, probably. I like Superman. That's not winning any Oscars, but I'm okay with that. It doesn't need to. It's not that kind of movie. Harrison Ford. But yeah, Oscars are tomorrow, and I watched the Best Picture winners, and I have thoughts about all of them. And I'm going to share those thoughts. Well, okay, I do have a confession. I only saw 9 of the 10. Maybe I'll see the 10th tonight. We'll see if I feel like watching a Brazilian film. Because unfortunately, I did not get the chance to see this. Well, I got the chance, I just didn't see The Secret Agent. It seems right up my alley. I'm sure it's fantastic. Directed by Un Momento Por Flavor. Kieber Mendonça Filho. It's starring Wagner Moura, and it seems right up my alley. Like a 70s-based thriller, dark comedy, maybe some espionage in there. I love a good 70s thriller. I just watched The Conversation. Wonderful, fantastic film. Anywho, just a paranoid thriller. I'm sure it's fantastic. I just haven't put aside 2 hours and 40 minutes to watch it, unfortunately. But I did watch the other 9 Best Picture nominees, and many other movies from last year. And I have thoughts on each and every one of them. And this is sort of in order. I have a favorite, I have a least favorite, and it's probably not hard to guess which is which. My opinions are fairly basic, but I'm going to share them anyway, because this is my podcast, and I do what I want. So, I'm just going to start it right off. F1, directed by Joseph Kosinski. It's sort of the black sheep of the list. I think everyone was really surprised to see it get on there. Nobody obviously some people are going to think everything, but the vast majority of people didn't think it was that good. Even the movie's fans agreed the story is kind of abysmal, and it's just, directed by Joseph Kosinski. Look, the race scenes are as great as one would expect from the director of Top Gun Maverick, and it just this energy about it. It feels great to watch. It does a great job placing you in the driver's seat, but the story is just bad. It should have been at least half an hour shorter, but at the same time, it still feels like they cut some weird stuff from the editing room. There was definitely supposed to be like a third plot line with the mechanic lady that you still see bits and pieces of, but mostly it's just not there. And I don't know, it's just a strange nominee, and it's kind of frustrating that it's on there, considering there are so many movies that should at least have gotten some recognition that didn't. It's crazy that No Other Choice was nominated for nothing, and F1 gets a Best Picture nominee. I've never watched a second of actual F1 racing. I've heard it's great, but even as someone that hasn't, I could tell there's so much about this that would never fly in an actual race. It's just this weird. It's the same exact formula as Top Gun Maverick. It's this sort of boomer slop where an aging old star, Brad Pitt now in place of Tom Cruise, comes back into the fold out of retirement to teach the youngins a thing or two, and maybe even redeem himself in the end. And look, the adrenaline pumping action is great, of course, but everything in between is just, it's trite, it's cliched. You have Javier Bardem sort of doing the Lisan al-Gaib type freak out towards Brad Pitt that he did towards Chalamet in Dune 2. I've been sort of trying to figure out what the logic is that led this to get a nomination, and I suppose, as kind of a stretch, you can sort of justify it as a callback to the cinema of attractions period, to allow me to get pretentious for a moment. Cinema of attractions period of early cinema, where they were focused on spectacle, not story, just showing the audience stuff and spectacle and it being cool. But the thing is, we're in a modern age now. We can easily watch actual F1. There are a million video games we can play that put us right in the driver's seat. And it really makes you wonder, what kind of place really is there for that kind of spectacle without the backbone of every movie, which is a strong screenplay? Anywho, to move on. Next on the list, this is one we just talked about on the pod with Catherine. Shout out Catherine. This is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I'm just going to say I think this is the most overrated movie on the list. It was a letdown and a half. I've never read the book, which, yeah, I'm a bad English major. Anyway, that means I'm not saying this from a the book is better standpoint, even though I'm sure it is. You can go watch the podcast on this, and we talked about Wuthering Heights in the same episode, to get more of my detailed thoughts, but I'm going to repeat a few of my points. It just feels too polished and clean and artificial, but not artificial in a good way where it's like unholy and inhuman, sort of, what's it called? It's on the tip of my tongue. Uncanny Valley. There we go. A sort of Uncanny Valley artificiality would have been cool, but it's just too calculated. The camera movements are too clean and smooth. You have these sweeping crane shots that feel more like a high-budget superhero blockbuster than an intimate gothic horror that it should be. That's my issue with the whole movie. It feels like a superhero movie, like a stupid Marvel movie with Netflix dialogue, and these stupid wide-angle lenses that are always... I don't frickin' know. There are parts I really like, but I feel like every one of them is quickly spoiled by those camera movements, the crappy cinematography, the too polished aesthetic where it should be gritty and grimy and gross, or the worst of all, the terrible, wooden, overly explanatory dialogue that Netflix has so quickly become infamous for, and they keep proving everyone right. It's terrible. You're the monster, Victor. Really? Getting ASMR here. That's how upset I am. Look, I realize I sound like the movie pisses me off. And it kind of does a little bit, actually. But it wasn't bad. It was very okay. But that's kind of my problem. It should have been so much better than okay. It's just uninspired, unfortunately, which kind of hurts me to say about Del Toro. And I don't know why that hurts me, because the only thing I've seen of his is Pacific Rim. I'm a bad film bro, too. Frankenstein's very fine. No more, no less. But I do think it's the most overhyped on the list. Here's the part in my ranking where people will get upset at me. Another one previously talked about on the pod. I'm just now realizing how much of these we did talk about on the pod, which is nice. You can go see my detailed thoughts for most of them, I guess. Oh boy, these are all really good movies from here. I genuinely love every movie from here on forward. This is Sinners. Sinners was great. This is the most mainstream nominee on the list. Definitely the biggest success, but I mean, it kind of rocks. It's a relatively original horror flick, no pre-existing IP attachment. Basic Ryan Coogler's unfettered creative vision, his passion project, I think. And it's about vampires, it's about music, it's about belief and culture and all these things. And people say it's not a vampire movie, it's more than that. It's Glazers can say that, but it is a vampire movie, and that's okay. A vampire movie can be awesome. I love vampire movies. The Lost Boys is still my favorite, though. It works with the conventions of vampire movies, not against them, not in spite of them. It works very well. It does what I think not enough horror flicks do, where, well, at least not enough horror flicks do well, where it spends a lot of time setting up its characters and its world and making you care before ripping it all away. It's classic horror. It's the same sort of thing you see with Carpenter's Halloween. There's so much drama over it. People say it's the best thing ever. People say it's super overrated, and it actually sucks, no pun intended. I think it falls somewhere between the two, where it is great. I think the Glazers have a point or two. Parts rock. I'm a big fan of that music scene in the middle with the people from past, present, and future, and the dancing, and the music is the best part of the movie. Ludwig Göransson popped the heck off. And honestly, I think I Lied to You should have gotten the Best Original Song nomination instead of Okay, I stand corrected. I Lied to You did get the nomination. Yeah. I think I dare say should win, but that freaking earworm from K-pop Demon Hunters, which was also very okay. It was not great. That's also very overhyped. Sue me. But that freaking earworm's probably gonna win anyway, and that kind of pees my O. Golden Wicket. It's catchy. It's catchy. I don't think it's a great, awesome, cool song. It's kind of cool. I don't know. Whatever. I digress. Side tangent. I don't digress. It is, or do I? Whatever. I'm going to digress a little bit. It's really funny that there were two films from last year about the power music holds, particularly in relation to culture and and connection to culture, and with a villain that tries to harness that power for evil and turning the hero to his own side for his own nefarious purposes. I don't know. It's got a crazy little coinky-dink. Anywho, Sinners rocks. I don't know what I can say that hasn't been said already. It looks great. It sounds great. Miles Caton is crazy for a debut performance. I'd argue he did better here than Michael B. Jordan, who may have the most overrated performance of the year. I'm going to get killed for this, except no one's going to watch it, thank frickin' goodness. And also, Michael B. Jordan was not the lead actor. He was a supporting actor. Miles Caton was the lead actor. He was the main character. Whatever. I don't think it's quite Best Picture. It's far from the worst option on the list. I would not be mad if it won a few of the things it was nominated for. I don't think it should win Best Picture, but it was really good. It was a great blockbuster. I think it was a little messy at parts, but I dig it. I'm a big fan of Sinners. Oh, I'm a fan of Sinners. They're gonna kill me. Next up on my ranking is the it's sort of a toss-up in ranking, but for the next two for me. In any case, I just saw this the other day. Sentimental Value is the other foreign film nominated from Norwegian director Joachim Trier. This one's a real heartbreaker. This is for the English majors, I think, and the film bros and people who like analyzing stuff. And also for the people with complicated relationships with their fathers or parents, or for them to avoid because it might hit too close to home. I don't know. It's an almost like Ibsen-esque family drama. I say having read one Ibsen play, but I don't know, it's mostly set in or around one house, so there's an almost play-like quality. But Trier's direction is just so good. The visual language here, the narration. There's narration there. There's narration in a couple of these, but here it's only opening and closing, if I remember correctly, and it's very poetic, not just in the narration, in a lot of the dialogue. And it's a movie about the movies, I love those, and showing the power of that, as although like also the faults in putting too much faith in its power to magically be a band-aid fix over everything. It doesn't work that way. You can't just fix most things. I think a lot of the time, you just accepting that it can't be fixed is the first step towards some form of healing and getting as close to that as you're going to get. And that's sort of the point of the movie. And Stellan Skarsgård nails it here. He does such a great job. Renee Rensva, Elle Fanning, all fantastic. This is a really solid movie, and I've heard no one talking about it, probably because it's a foreign film, and Americans don't... I'm going to stop myself right there. I sound so pretentious. Oh my gosh. Some of these have a lot of scope in terms of spectacle. Look at Sinners. And I think Sentimental Value has the same scope, but in terms of sentiment, in terms of emotion. It hits hard and it cuts deep. I don't know. I would really like to talk about this with somebody, and I'm really sad Declan's not here. Oh, man. All right, I said the next two on the list were going to be sort of a toss-up in terms of ranking for me, but next is Begonia, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and this one I love Begonia. This one rocks. It's one of those movies I tell people to go into as blind as possible. Like, seriously, skip this part if you haven't seen the movie and go watch it and then come back or whatever. I honestly think it rivals Marty Supreme in terms of like stress-inducing just craziness and ridiculous things happening, just more and more stressful as the movie goes. Jesse Plemons' lack of a nomination is an atrocious snub from the Academy. I honestly think he had my favorite lead actor performance of the year, which is saying a lot because there were a lot of really great ones this year, which I'll talk about at least a couple of later on. But he did great, and Emma Stone does great, and the other guy is awesome also, and I don't remember his name, unfortunately. It's just nuts. It has a couple of my favorite needle drops of the year. A great use of Chappell Roan, great use of Green Day. It's a very fun, pointed, if a little almost on-the-nose satire, and a really genuinely unsettling visual. Some really unsettling visuals. A little upsetting too, actually. And it's a really memorable watch. And I would love to watch it again with somebody that has no idea what's going to happen. It's one of the best theater experiences I had last year. One of my favorite endings of last year. A lot of these have really, really great endings, actually. And yeah, a big fan of Begonia. Train Dreams, directed by Clint Bentley. It's one of the shorter nominees, but it's a slower burn. But it works. It's a very melancholic look at the American frontier in the early 1900s. A lot of these are sort of English major type movies. It's also based on a book that I'm very curious to read now. The narration, I like a lot of the narration. I think at times it's a tiny bit much, telling you things instead of showing them. It is a visual medium, but at its best, that narration is a compliment to the events on screen, adding a sort of tragic tinge about it. Just, it's about the tragedy of being human and these normal people like Joel Edgerton's character who were here briefly and barely left a real impact around him, but it's about the fact that life is still a meaningful life, a beautiful life, and being able to face that in the face of a constantly terrifyingly shifting and changing society is, I mean, I don't know, it's all we can do. It's about, I don't know, I love a good story about the expansion of the American frontier and the death of true freedom that comes along with it. Western, I love a good Western. This isn't a Western, but it's the same concept that's in many a Western. And yeah, I don't know. Train Dreams rocks. And this is another underrated one. Not enough people are talking about it. People should talk about it. But I honestly blame that on Netflix and its limited freaking theater releases. Nobody was able to see this in a theater because it was just on Netflix. And this is a case of non-Netflix dialogue. This is good Netflix movie, not bad Netflix. Anywho. Next on the list, top 3. We're at the top 3 now. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And I keep saying these are for English majors, but this is the most English majory of the 10, by far. It's Hamnet. It's directed by Chloe Zhao. I didn't know Steven Spielberg had anything to do with it. He was a producer. I didn't know that until he accepted the award at the Golden Globes, I think it was. And I look up at the TV and I see, is that Steve? What is he doing here? That's my boy. And yeah, Zhao gives us this intimate portrayal of family, of loss, of fatherhood, of childhood, motherhood. And on top of it all, the power of storytelling that makes it all bearable. It is a bleak little fictionalized look at good old Billy Shakes himself with visuals, these incredibly poetic frames and visuals and setups. And the dialogue, I don't know. The soundtrack, I wouldn't be mad if it won Best Original Score, even though it wouldn't be my number one pick personally. It's a real tearjerker. Bring frickin' tissues if you haven't seen this and you're going to see it. I watched this with my dad, and it's a crazy movie to watch with your dad, by the way. But I watched this with my dad, and I remember walking out of the theater during the credits, and we see, I assume she was supposed to be cleaning the theater, this poor employee, teenage girl with a broom and dustpan, sobbing. Two or three of her coworkers are like at her sides trying to comfort her. She's inconsolable, and I'm like, yeah. Jessie Buckley's definitely getting Best Lead Actress for this, and she deserves it 110%. And Paul Mescal was snubbed for a Best Supporting Actor nomination, I guess. Maybe Best Lead. I don't know. I mean, it's so weird. If Michael B. Jordan's a lead, so is Paul Mescal. The best acting here, honestly, is probably from 12-year-old Jacoby Jupe. That little boy was adorable, and I want to be a dad, but also I'm terrified to be a dad, and yeah. Hamnet, dude. This one's cool. I'd love to talk about this with one of my like Shakespeare snob English buddies, most of whom, maybe all of whom, I've had on the pod at some point or another. Some critics have called Hamnet manipulative, but I think they're just, I don't know, they've gotten too comfortable being cynical. Cynicism is a disease. I think Matthew McConaughey said something like that. It's not manipulative. Chloe Zhao's just good at her job. It is terrible, and it's amazing. And It's so good. It may be what finally makes me give Chloe Zhao's Eternals a chance, because I still haven't seen that. And I'm probably going to be disappointed. Number 2, Marty Supreme. Directed by Josh Safdie. The ping pong movie. This is the most basic freaking top 3 possible, but like, basic for a reason. It's a ping pong movie. Chalamet is probably winning Best Actor for this. I think he'd deserve it. Although, again, it should have been Jesse Plemons. I wouldn't be upset if it was Leo DiCaprio, but they're not giving it to Leo. They have never liked Leo, and I don't know. But they might give it to Michael B. Jordan, which would kind of upset me, because his performance was good. Like, he played 2 characters. A lot of people play 2 characters, and he did. I do give him props, actually, for, now that I know all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and seeing him with all the gear all over him, and him having to act like that. But I don't think that these gimmicks are what warrant the winning of this award. People have brought up the Robert Pattinson argument, and I agree with the Robert Pattinson argument that he played like 17 characters in Mickey 17 last year, which I still haven't seen. So by that logic, he should get the award. It doesn't work that way. Marty Mauser is a great character. I almost said he is Timothée Chalamet. He is in some ways, but heightened. He's a perfect jerk of a man. He's the best, and he knows it, and he needs everyone else to know it too. It's this critique of the American dream. It's fascinatingly anachronistic. It takes place in the 50s, music from the 80s. People talk like it's 2025, and it works. It shows the timelessness of that American greed, and how intimately connected that is to the American dream. And it's very much a trilogy with Safdie's previous work in Good Time and Uncut Gems, where it's just stressful, terrible human being main characters that dig their hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and unable to make a good decision, but you can't help but keep on watching. And it is unfortunate that he split with his brother as a directing duo, or his brother split with him. I would like to see the Smashing Machines still, but again, Declan saw that, and I would have loved to talk about that with him a little bit, but we can't. Darn you, airplane delays, whatever. Look, Marty Supreme is energetic. It's awesome. The ping pong scenes had me on the edge of my seat just as much, if not more, than anything from F1. You just keep biting your nails, waiting to see how on earth is he going to get himself out of this one. It's awesome. It's funny. You have these non-actor actors that he likes to use so much, like Mr. Wonderful and Tyler, the Creator. But yeah, again, you just have to keep watching to see how he's going to get himself out of this one, and the one after that, and the one after that. And it's like, for this guy, it's like one battle after another or something. Segue, one battle after another, number 1. That was terrible. I'm so sorry. Yeah, one battle after another. This one I did talk about with Declan. Good episode. Go check it out. This is my favorite film that came out last year. I love it so much. Paul Thomas Anderson is one of my favorite directors ever. I still have to see a good few of his films, including Boogie Nights. Johnny Greenwood's score might be my favorite of the year. His frenetic but low-key piano, just there adding to stress and tension and drama of everything. There are a couple needle drops, maybe the best use of Steely Dan here since The Sopranos, and there are 1 or 2 other needle drops Declan and I talked about that I just adore. Jackson 5. And like any popular movie, like a lot of these movies, people have started hating on this one. I'm a diehard defender. I don't care. This did not disappoint me at all. It's almost 3 hours, I think. It does not feel it. It didn't feel it either time I watched it. His little R-rated take on Finding Nemo, these parallel journeys of a father and child as they try to reunite, or at least as the child tries to escape, and Leo tries to find Willa. DiCaprio is hilarious, he's sympathetic, and I love him so much. Bob might be his best character since Rick Dalton, and I love Rick Dalton. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's maybe funniest film. I haven't seen Boogie Nights yet. All his movies have a dark humor about them, but this, I think, is the funniest I've seen of him. I think it's one of the funniest movies of 2025, behind Spinal Tap 2, underrated, Friendship, underrated. My microphone got unplugged. Back to the Blue Snowball, because I forgot my Yeti at college, and I'm on spring break. Friendship was the funniest movie of last year. I was crying in the theater watching that, and maybe I'll talk about that one day. I honestly, Tim Robinson deserved a nomination for that, or even Paul Rudd. I don't know, but Anderson's humor here, it's a compliment to the biting satire of the film, the ridiculousness of everything, and that satire is uncomfortably close to home a lot of the time. But Leo is genuinely hilarious. I thought Sean Penn was hilarious. I really hope he wins Best Supporting Actor, honestly. And it would be awesome if he showed up. He's not going to show up. If he showed up, accepted the award just to tell everyone to F off, it would be great. But Leo's frustration on the phone with Comrade Josh is hilarious. Sean Penn is hilarious and a little bit terrifying all at once, which is why he's Oscar worthy. Benicio del Toro as Sensei is awesome. There's just a plethora of fun, memorable characters, and Chase Infinity in another crazy debut performance, keeping it all grounded in all the chaos. It's great. It's about family, it's about freedom, the human need for belonging that all these characters are looking for. It's shockingly touching. I was shocked at how optimistic it was. I think it's it's a great companion piece to Eddington, also egregiously underrepresented at the Oscars this year. Joaquin Phoenix deserved a nod. Ari Aster, I think, deserved a nod. I don't know. But I think it's an interesting companion piece to Eddington. It's much more cynical cousin, and I would consider both a sort of neo-Western of sorts. But Eddington is much more pessimistic about the future, whereas One Battle After Another is more, hey, look, we failed, but you're the next generation. Maybe you can do better. Maybe you can succeed where we did not. And I appreciate that. I love that. And it makes me want to do better. There's great comedy here, great action, an all-timer car chase. Again, like Marty Supreme, ridiculous situations, ridiculous characters. I really hope it brings home a few awards. I don't know. I love One Battle. Like I said, 2025 rocked for cinema. Weirdly enough, I think it was a really great year for movies about fatherhood and childhood and just messed up families, between One Battle, Sentimental Value. There's a thing about motherhood in Begonia. There's a whole thing with Sammy's father and Sinners. Train Dreams is about a father. A lot of fatherhood this year. Frankenstein, dude, come on. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm into it. Hamnet, oh jeez. Yeah, crazy year for movie dads. Holy moly. I think a solid argument could be made for most of the Best Picture nominees deserving the award, or at least some award or another. And I do have my favorites among the 10, obviously, but everyone is entitled to their own. For me, it's a real shame to think about everything that didn't get a nomination or any recognition despite deserving it. I talked about it with Eddington, with Friendship. Wake Up Dead Man was one of my favorite movies of last year. It didn't get crap. I was at least hoping Glenn Close would get a supporting actress nomination. Roll Tribe. Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. Wes Anderson's Phoenician Scheme was his best movie in years. and that didn't get anything. I'm real excited for the Oscars. I think it's going to be a good show. My man Conan's going to do us right, I'm sure. I don't think any of the Best Picture nominees are outright bad. I think they're all, at the very least, worth checking out. Cinema's in a good spot right now, where we have all this crazy stuff coming out, and like in the mainstream, we have stuff for the pretentious a-holes like me outside of the mainstream. And honestly, no matter who wins, I cannot wait to see what we're in for this next year. 2026 is shaping up to have a great batch of films so far, or films coming up, and even so far, I'm really pumped. Yeah, that's it for this little mini episode of Pulp Diction. Thank you for listening and or watching. I'm your host, Dylan Gibson. Why'd I say that? I don't know. Thank you for listening and or watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications. Follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, whatever. And that's going to do it. And maybe I will talk about these with Declan after the awards. We'll see.